true pelvis or the lesser pelvis or the minor pelvis. They're all three names, okay? The false pelvis is called the greater pelvis or called the major pelvis. There's an imaginary line that separates the true pelvis from the false pelvis. The true pelvis holds all of our organs up there, okay? It's known as 3 different names. The only way I put this as pelvic brim is that because that's what your book says. Okay, your book says the pelvic brim. But it's the iliopectineal line, or it's called the linea terminalis. It's known by all 3 names. It's the imaginary line that separates the false pelvis from the true pelvis.
What about the word say linea terminalis? It's the same thing?
Yeah, that's what it says.
No, linea. It's got letter E before that.
Oh, I would think so. I don't know.
Because in the workbook.
Yeah, it's in the workbook. Yeah, it would. Okay?
I think this is extra.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the suspensory ligament?
That hold the phallus too?
Holds the ovary where? Laterally. What's another name for the suspensory ligament? Infundibulo. My brain went blank. Infundibulopelvic. We'll get to it. Okay. Jasmine, tell me the 3 layers of the uterus.
Oh, okay, the endometrium, myometrium, and the peritoneum.
Very good. Tell me the 2 layers of the ovary farnese. We've only been over it once. It's just like the kidney, the cortex and the medulla.
Sounds like
The cortex and the medulla. The cortex is the outer layer. It's covered by tunica albuginea. It's covered by germinal epithelium. Okay?
So what's cortex and medulla?
Cortex and medulla.
The medulla is divided to 2
Nope.
layers,
Nope. The medulla is the medulla.
and the cortex.
Is the outer layer of the ovary.
Okay, you
The
said
kidneys.
other-
The kidneys have the cortex and the medulla.
Okay.
The ovaries have a cortex and a medulla.
Yeah, but you said the 3 names. Now, she said no other names.
The germinal epithelium.
Yeah.
That's the outer layer of the ovary.
Okay.
From inside to out, the medulla, the cortex, albuginea, my brain just went blank. Albuginea. And then albuginea tunica. Tunica albuginea. The outer layer is the germinal epithelium. Patricia, tell me the different segments of the fallopian tube.
We have your inferior, anterior, interstitial, and corneal,
And what?
cornea,
That's uterus.
isthmus.
The isthmus is one.
The isthmus, the ampulla, infundibulum.
Infundibulum. Okay, very good. From outer to inner. Fembri is attached to the infundibulum. Ampulla, that's where the majority of conceptions handle.
Mm-hmm.
Then the isthmus, then the interstitial. Okay?
What about, like in the first is you have a lateral?
Lateral to medial.
That's outer.
That's outer to inner. Is the same thing as lateral medial. My medial fallopian tube attaches to the lateral uterus. Does that help? Okay.
And Mr. Shepherd, what we consider the cornua, is it a part
That's where,
of?
that is where, that's in the uterus, part of the uterus, where the interstitial fallopian tube inserts into the uterus.
So it's not part of the fallopian, just from the,
That's part, that is considered uterus. Iliopectineal line is the same thing as linea terminalis. What is this area right here called? Dewey.
Hymen.
Huh? No, the hymen's in here. Perineal. Peritoneum.
Peritoneal.
Perineal. If they do a episiotomy, like say the vagina is not big enough, they'll cut the perineum and make it bigger so the baby can come out. It's from a 1 to a 5. 5 is all the way to the anus.
We can scan that area too, right?
Yeah. Okay. Spaces, Uba. You're gonna do me spaces. What is the space between the pubic bone and the bladder? Just one. It has a couple of names, but I'll just take one. The space between the bladder and the pubic bone. What is this area here called? Huh? Acile, you wanna help her?
Yeah, space of reticis.
Yep, that's correct. Uba, the space between the uterus and the bladder, right here, what is that called?
Symphysis pubis.
Nope. Here's my symphysis pubis right here.
Oh, which one again?
What is this space right here?
Okay, that's
Is it called,
Anterior cul-de-sac, because it's anterior to the uterus. Okay? What about posterior to the uterus? Oh, I'm sorry, I gave you the answer.
posterior cul-de-sac?
Posterior cul-de-sac. Or pouch of Douglas.
Mhm.
Or retro uterine. Okay? The space of Ritz's has 3 names. Space of Ritz's, retropubic, behind the pubic bone, pre-vesical, in front of the bladder. Anterior cul-de-sac, it's anterior between the uterus and the bladder. It's also called vesico-bladder uterine. Yes?
This is beta Fritz's, also called retrouterine.
Retrouterine?
Yes. The pouch.
Retrouterine tells me that that would be behind the uterus.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is right here. Posterior cul-de-sac is retrouterine. So rectouterine is behind the uterus in front of the rectum. It's also called the pouch of Douglas. Okay, Uva, I hope you're taking lessons and you're not on your phone.
Yeah, I'm taking
Okay. Okay. This is my bladder. This is my urethra. My urethra exits right here in my vagina area. Okay? It's posterior to the clitoris. It's anterior to my vagina. Posterior inferior is where my ureters insert into the bladder. Posterior inferior. It's also where the bladder empties, where my urethra empties. Here's my internal urethra. Here's my external urethra. Okay? This triangle is called the trigon. The bladder. You have the apex, the base, the neck, and the trigon. Those are the different areas. Just like the uterus, it has different segments. This is an anteverted uterus with an empty bladder, with a full bladder. When we fill the bladder, we use this to displace the bowel and to make my uterus more 90 degrees to the line of fire for physics, for the ultrasound beam. Because I'm 90 degrees to this, I'm not able to see because of a artifact caused from physics. Okay? It's called edge shadowing. It's when ultrasound hits something curved and the waves, they travel in a straight line.
Ecstatic.
Okay? So it causes these little shadows to come out. It also makes my endometrium wider at the bottom than it is on the top. Where really, when it's here, it's wider at the fundus than it is at the lower uterine segment. Here's my cervix, my lower uterine segment, my body, and my fundus. Yes.
I'm just curious. So if you were to measure the on the left side,
Yes.
the box towards the bottom, would it still measure smaller than the top, even though it's showing you that it's wider?
No, it's gonna be wider at the top. I mean, it's gonna be wider in this area. Because what happens is ultrasound hits it and it does this.
Right, but if you were to actually measure it,
I would not measure it. That's why you're in ultrasound school. You would not measure it. Okay? Okay? Because we're taught to measure it at the fundus. Okay? So a little secret. So I have my lower uterine segment and here it is. Here's my endometrial tissue. Okay? If I have a triangular anechoic structure right here, there's something in my endometrium. If you see it when you're doing a chest, an abdomen, you have fluid in your lungs. It's that little triangle. If you see a triangular anechoic structure, then you have something in there. It's not in any book you read. Okay? Here's an anteverted uterus, a ureteral jet. This tells me that I have a kidney working. If I do not find a kidney on an abdominal exam, I'm gonna go to the pelvis, I'm gonna watch the bladder with color, and I'm gonna wait for 2 different jets. If I have a jet on both sides, I have to go back and find that kidney. So sometimes you can have a diseased kidney and it'll be very small hyperechoic, and we get it confused with that.
So the chest is go like this or like this?
The jets will go like this. Okay, so the side lobe artifact, my ultrasound came in, it hit something curved, and now I have posterior shadowing due to physics. Side lobe artifact. You won't get to artifacts until next semester, but you have to start learning artifacts now, because that's how we make a diagnosis on a lot of pathologies in ultrasound. We use those artifacts. Here is a not full bladder, and here is free fluid. Okay? This is a curved measurement for the length. The height would be 90 degrees to the curved measurement. I'm not gonna measure it from here to here. I have to be 90 degrees to the original measurement. Not the anatomy, to the original measurement. Like this over here. This is to 90 degrees.